Okay, so here we go again. So now we're looking at the Microsoft Word. So we already did the brochure. We created our brochure and everything, so we're good with that. So we're moving on to the second question of the Microsoft Word. So here we go, which is number 2. Create a receipt for patients to the hospital outlining the details of their visits as well as a cost breakdown. The letter should include a short greeting, then the cost breakdown. Alright, so this basically asking you to create a letter, basic letter from the hospital to the patient, outlining pretty much the details of their visits, the cost for the visit, how many days they stayed, which unit they stayed in, just basic information that you already have in your database or your spreadsheet. So you're not going to be making up new information here. You're pretty much using the same information. All right. Now, this section of the SBA will require us to create what's called a mail merge. All right. So we did this already in class, but just slow with us. Quick summary of what it is. A mail merge is a feature of Microsoft Word where it allows you to create one main document, and then you can create what's called a data source. So for example, let me give you an example. I have this letter here that I want to send out to patients or students or anybody. I just want to send out this letter to a set of students in my class, right? And if I have 50 students in my class, I don't want to print this one and then go back and type in, delete the next name and type in another name and type in the grades and then send that one and then go back and forth, right? Because that's going to mean that I have to pretty much be doing this 50 times for the 50 students. So what Microsoft Word allows me to do with mail merge is I can create one main document. So this is my main document that have all of the information that the outline for all of the information that I need. With the only thing that is going to be missing is the details. For example, the student name, the student grade, whatever other information. Then I can have the student information in a spreadsheet, all of their names, all of their grades, and everything. And then I can also merge this letter with the spreadsheet, and what the computer will do is it will automatically fill in for each letter, fill in the name where I want it to go and the grades where I want it to go, and automatically create 50 letters for each of my students with their specific information, right? So that is pretty amazing right there. So it means that I don't have to sit down and write 50 letters. I just write one main letter and I merge it with my data source, and I get 50 letters same time for each person in my data source. So that is what we're going to be doing here today for this part of the SBA. All right, so let's look at the details. This letter, so I'm reading here, this letter should follow the following format, meaning that this is how they want the page to be formatted. Paper size should be letter size, 8.5 by 11. The page should be portrait orientation. Border margin should be set at 1 inch, right? So let's look at how we're going to get that done. So we're looking at a blank document here. This is my blank Word document. So first thing I want is page size. The page orientation should be portrait. Portrait meaning long way, just as it is. Then it asks that the size besides the letter 8.5 by 11. So here we have 8.5 by 11, right? Remember, I'm just looking at what is here. And then the borders now should be 1 inch all around. So I'm going to go to my margins and I'm going to go to custom margins. And then this is now where I will make my border. So you can see here, I have already set my borders to 1 inch for the top, 1 inch for the bottom, 1 inch for the left, 1 inch for the right. So you can just use these arrow keys here to increase or decrease it to where you want it. So I want one at top, one at bottom, one at left, one at right. And that's basically a margin that is here around the page to ensure that you can't type within that margin on the page. So when I press OK, now I have my page set up and ready. So I have done that task right here. So all of this is complete. The letter should include a letterhead, of the hospital along with a logo, right? So the letterhead is going to be pretty much the hospital's name, and the logo we already have our logo from in the spreadsheet that we've been using. All right. Your letter is going to have one paragraph commenting on the treatment received. So, for example, this paragraph can say, um, "Thank you for making your stay here with us at Zayamba Hotel. We trust that your visit was peaceful and in well-being, and you have a full recovery or whatever the case is." So you will put that together how you want. So just a nice paragraph, 2 or 3 sentences, wishing them the best and hoping that they have a full recovery after they leave. Because if you're doing this letter, it means that they are leaving the hospital. So it's just something wishing them the best, hoping that they had a good stay at the hotel and they got the best treatment possible. All right. It should also have a well-designed table displaying the cost breakdown. Remember your cost breakdown. Your cost breakdown is going to be all of these costs right here. So all of your expenses, your total, your coverage amount paid, all of these is going to be your cost. And if you have all of these headings in it as well, all right. And a short closing comment. A short closing comment can say, "Thank you and all the best. Thank you for making it Zamba Hotel," whatever the case is. So you will put that together. I don't want to tell you too much because you guys have a tendency to pretty much copy what I say and give them about the same exact thing. So you need to be creative with this one. So that's 2 to 3 um 3 sentences for the paragraph, for the top paragraph, then the table, and then 1 sentence closing off. All right. Good. So your letter should pretty much look like this. So this is something that I created. So I have my logo up here. You don't have to have the logo at the top. You can have the logo at the bottom. You can have it at the side. All right. Just make sure that it looks professional and make it look like it belongs there. Right? You're not just doing madness just to get it done. All right. I have the name of the hotel here. So all of this is my letterhead now with the name of the name of the healthcare facility. The address for the healthcare facility is all here. The name of the healthcare facility is a little bit bigger and bold, so that is to make it more pronounced on the page. Then I have there, I'm gonna leave a space, right? As I'm going to show you now, I'm leaving a space for where I want information to be placed within the document. So where I want information to be placed within the document, I'm going to leave space. So this is supposed to be saying there and the person's name, John Brown, or whatever the person's name is, Mrs. Smith, whatever the person's name is. So I leave a space there. All right. This is the paragraph. Like I say, you're going to have 2 to 3 paragraphs for yours. All right. So I only have 1, 2 sentence right here. So you're going to have 3 sentences for your headings. All right. This is a table now. So the table is going to be a breakdown of the patient's information. Patient number, patient name, including first name and last name, date of birth, address 1, address 2, number of days stayed, number of symptoms, type of admission, total expenses, or if you want, you can list each expense individually. You can have the meal, the bed, list each of them independently. That's up to you, and then you put the total, insurance coverage, and the amount to pay. This is an example, people. I don't want you to put yours together exactly like how mine is. All right. What I want you to do is to make sure that it makes sense. So you're giving the visitor, you're giving the patient useful information. So you're going to give them some useful information, all right, from the data that you have collected on them, just like what I did here. But you're not have to lay it out the same exact way, right? You can put patient first name, patient last name. They can put both names in one, right? Your table don't have to go down like this. The table can go across. So you can have your table can look like. Sorry, let me put it somewhere. Your table can be going across like this instead of down like what I have, right? Where you just put in the headings up at the top here, so, and then you will leave the blank spaces below. All right. You can split the table in two, so you can have two. So you can have the personal information in one part up here, so, and then the expenses you put in a different section looking like this. either way, make it look professional. All right, that's your point. Then sincerely and your name, as you can see, I changed the font style for mine for the name here. Um, to make it look a little bit like somebody write hand signature. So you can try the same and increase the font size to make it look appropriate on the page. All right. So as you can see now, I left the blank spaces here. So because this is where I want my information to go into my document. So this is where I'm going to merge the information from my data source, just like we spoke about earlier. All right. So once I have all the information laid out, exactly like how I want my letter, this is how the letter is going to look, right? So this letter now should be named, should be called, should be saved as admittance main letter, because this is going to be your main letter, right? So I save this one specifically, I save at SBA 2021 word main letter, but you want to save yours specifically how they ask you to save it right here, all right? So for this part of the letter, you're finished. Once you save this part, you're finished. The next thing you need to do now is so we're going to number 3 here. Use the data from the database to create a list of recipients details called admittance recipients data source. Let me read that again. Use the data from the database, from the Access, Microsoft Access, to create a list of recipients details called admittance recipients data source. So that is where you're going to create basically a query. You're going to create another query with all of the information that you need to fill out these parts here. So it's going to include the names, date of birth, address, all of the information that you have here, right? So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to create this data source. So this is your Microsoft Access, where you would have already created your 3 tables, your 3 queries, and your report already, right? So here now we're going to create a new report, a new query. So we're going to create query design, and I want all 3 tables, right? So I can pick out which pieces of information I want to put into the letter. So I know that I'm going to need the patient ID. I'm going to need that. I'm going to need the title, first name, last name. I'm going to need the address, because address is an important part of any letter. Right? Good. What else do we need? We need the number of days that they stayed. We can put in the symptoms as well. So yes, we're putting in all of the information that our letter, we are going to want our letter to have. At this stage, right, number of symptoms. And as I said, no, this is your cost breakdown. So you can put in your, this is going to be your expenses. So your bed is going to be in it, your meal is going to be in it, medication, all of these things are part of your expenses. Your equipment is going to be in it. Alright. Your insurance, sure, why not? Your coverage, that is a part of the breakdown, total and total amount to be paid. So you want all of this information in it, right? So when you run your query, these are all of the information that you're going to merge with the main letter. So what this is going to do is, like, why I have 20 records here, so, and I have one main letter. When I merge it, I'm going to end up with 20 letters, each one addressed to each one of these persons specifically. All right. So I should name this according to what the document asked me to name it as: attendance recipients data source. And okay, good. So now I see it come up in here, so I know I'm good, right? Bear in mind, if you didn't put in the information here, you won't be able to access it in Microsoft in the mail merge section, right? It's only what is in this data source you'll be able to access. So if you realize that you leave off something, all you have to do is open it, open back the data source here, so, and you can go back to view, and you can add in whichever fields you left off. Alright, I think I have all of what I need here, so I should be good. So I'm going to go back to my main letter, right? So this is now where we're going to start that mail merge process that we spoke about, right? Now bear in mind, remember where you save your document, this Microsoft Access, because that's going to be important. Now we can go to mailing. We're going to go to select recipients, and we have three options here. Typing a new list, no, because we already have a list, so we're using an existing list, right? And it's going to ask you to locate your list. I have my list somewhere. Where did I create that? Alright, so I have mine in documents. So I have, this is it, hospital admissions. So this is it. And open, then it's going to bring up all of the tables and the queries that I have in that database. So I need to look for the one that I want, which is admittance recipient data source, and OK. Alright, so once you see the other items in the menu become highlighted, that means that it found the file and it's ready to go. Alright, so what I need to do next, I'm going to insert the fields into this document exactly where I want them to come up. So where it says insert merge fields, I'm going to put the cursor where I want it to go. Then I'm going to insert. So for the first one, because I'm right here, so I want this to say dear Mr. Brown, for example. So I can say dear title space last name. So the title will be Mr. or Mrs. or Doctor, or whatever the case is, and the last name will be the Brown or the Smith or whatever. So this is going to say dear Mr. Brown, if that is what is there. Understand? So these are the field names where the actual data will come in. So I can just show you that quick to show you exactly how it works. So if I preview the results, you see it's a Mr. Brown. So if I use these arrows right here, so and I go through it, I'm going through all of the files one by one. So you see the names are changing based on where the files are one by one in my database. Alright, so let me take that off and I will continue. So I want the patient number, so I insert patient ID, patient name, I'm going to insert title, space, space, first name, space, last name. So this is the name of the patient. Alright, date of birth. Did I put in the date of birth? No, I didn't put in the date of birth. Alright, so I come back to that one. Address 1. Address 2. Number of days stayed. Number of symptoms. Type of admission. Total expenses. Insurance coverage. And total amount to be paid. Alright, so this is how I set up mine. As I said, with yours, you can put in more details. So you can put in the actual the actual expenses, each of the expenses, the bed, the meal, the medication, the equipment, or you can put in the symptoms, fever, cough, respiratory problems, so those will show the yes or the no, or whatever the case is. Alright, so if I preview this, this is all the information is going to come up. Right, so the patient number, the name, the address, number of days stayed, number of symptoms 1, they stayed in isolation, and this is the amount of money that they paid. Alright, this is bringing over the raw data. So in order to get the dollar sign beside it, right where you insert the field, just right beside it, just put the dollar sign right beside it, so that it will show the dollar sign and the raw data. Alright, so this is how it should look. And as I said, if you skip through all of these, the information will change. So you see that this one is for Mr. Brown, So you see Mr. Brown. This one is for Miss Stacy Scott. This one is for Dr. Palmer. And the information can go on. Right? So just ensure that you will do it like this. Have fun creating this. Remember to be creative. Don't just drop in the data because you want to get the SBA done. The presentation is a huge part of this. So if you don't use up the fields properly, you might not get the marks. If you just use a few of the fields, insert only a few of the information, you might not get the full marks. Put in the information, create the table. The table is a very important part of it. You can make it a little bit more attractive. You can bold some of the headings here. You can even put a little color, mild color on the heading section, mild. So I don't want any bright red and things like this. You can't have this. Or these dark colors are going to make it hard to read and things like this, right? So you have mild colors like this. Alright. So remember your logo, letterhead, address. The body of the letter should be 3 sentences long. Alright. So when you finish with this part now, your letter should look like this. So it should have the field names looking just like this. So this is your main letter. So you can also make sure you have this saved as your main letter. And then the final thing that you're going to do now, because now you only have one letter here, so even though I can skip through it to get all of the person's information one by one, so even though I can skip through it to get each person's name one by one, I want one document that's going to have everybody's letter in it. Suppose I want to print it now, I can create one letter that's going to have all 30 names, all 30 letters in it, right? So that will be my final part. So when I go to finish and I see I want to edit individual documents, this is going to create a second document with all 30 letters in it. So edit individual documents is going to ask me if I want from letter number 1 to letter number 5 or letter number 10 or whatever. I want all of my letters. So merge records, all, and OK. And here it comes up just like this. So this is going to show all 30 letters. Bear in mind, I only have 20 names here, so ignore some of these. These were some testing that I was doing to get this lesson prepared, right? But you get the gist of what I'm showing. So these are the main letters here, so these are the main letters. And when you finish, you're supposed to have all 20, 30. Bear in mind, I only have 20 here because I was working with 20 for my teaching purposes. You will have all 30, and all the 30 will look same way. As I said, ignore these that used to look a little bit different. It was just part of my preparation for the class that I was testing something. So all the 30 letters should look like this. So let me just show you closer. So this letter is for Mr. Brown with his information. This letter is for Miss Scott. So you see Miss Scott information here. So this letter is for Dr. Palmer. And you see your information there. So you can just scroll through and you see all of your letters, right? So this final document now, according to the instructions here, should be called, save the merge document, so it should be called admittance merged letter. So that is this one with all 30. So you're going to have two documents here. You're going to have the one with all 30 of them, and you're going to have the one with just the one. So the one with just the one letter should be called the main letter. The one with all 30 should be called, I'm going to rename it here, file and save as, that one should be called admittance recipient. No, not that. It should be called, sorry, let me get the name, the right name. It should be called admittance merged letter. So this one should be called admittance merged letter and save. Good. So let's make that clear. You're going to have one document. The first main one should be called main letter, and that is the one that is going to have the merge fields. These are the merge fields. So this one showing the merge fields is the main letter. And after you go to finish and edit individual letters and all, you're going to get a next document with all your 30 names, with all of your 30 set of records or your 30 letters for your document like this, and you're going to name that one as admittance merged letter, right? So in all, you created 3 files here. You created the admittance recipient data source. This one was in access, so this is a data source that you merged it with. You created your main letter and you created the merged letter. So this in all, you created 3 files here, right? You created the main letter, you created the admittance recipient's data source, and you created the merged letter. So once you have those files all done, then you are very finished with Microsoft Word, right? So you ensure that you have that and you finish with Microsoft Word, right? If you don't understand, you can rewatch it. You can go to YouTube and find other mail merge examples, or you can reach out to me and I'll give you any assistance that you want with this part of the SBA. Thank you very much.